One of the things that the egg symbolizes is life, potential, something to symbolize the wholesomeness of life. My name is Amina Garba Ashiwaju. Well, the eggshells too plays a role in our everyday life. It's not everything we do is wholesome. Things that are very sensitive and fragile, like the eggshell. When the egg experiences damage, it cracks, and then it may crack and crack into fragments, thus giving you the eggshells. Eggs and eggshells. Okay, welcome back. We just had a short break. Before we go on, don't forget to subscribe and then click on the notification bell. I think it'll be somewhere around here, so that when we have new videos you're notified. So back to our chat with Elizabeth and Eniola. Guys, we need to Elizabeth, this is your area. We need to do a lot of educating today.
Yes, I'm ready to give that.
Okay. So now, if both of you had magic wands, if you had been visited by the fairy godmother in this Cinderella story,
yes,
what would you want to change about people, especially regarding albinism? What are the things you'd like to change about them?
Okay, so if I had that wand and I could just bibbidi babbidi boo into anywhere, I would go straight to the educational sector in the country, and by extension Africa, and I would like to get it inculcated somehow into the curriculum of schools. So I feel like when children learn about people with certain uniqueness at an early age, it helps them understand respect, it helps them understand empathy and all of those things that it comes with. So we have seen cases where some kids would refuse to play with certain children because of certain differences that they have. So if these things are taught at the elementary level, which is at the time when a child is forming reasoning abilities, it helps them understand this. So by the time they grow up, they are easily open to communicating with people who they feel have certain differences
people who look different from them.
Who look different, who act different, whichever uniqueness they seem to have, they are more accommodating. They know that, okay, I'm not the only kind of person that exists. People are different, and we all are unique, and we all should be respected.
But sorry dear, having said that, something else came to my mind. Why is it then that we would see the Caucasians and we like the Caucasians, but we would see the PWA and bully them?
Okay, I would say that the differences in that regard is in terms of most of the Caucasians that people have seen, they've either seen, I'm talking about the extended society now, they've either seen on TV or on magazines, and these are people who are professionals in what they do, so they are all dolled up, looking nice and all. So it's much different from having
there's more respect
from having a child like you who looks much different from you, especially in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa especially, where we have more of dark-skinned people, and you're seeing somebody just sort of like a sore thumb that just sticks out. And you're like, who's this one? You're trying to avoid the person, or you just don't want to have anything. We've even had mothers who would say things to their children like, don't play with this child is different. When I was younger, I had that experience once. A mother told her daughter not to be friends with me because of our differences. I wouldn't know. So these are things that if we can tackle at elementary level in schools, it will go a long way in addressing it. I believe so. So that's where my wand will take me, or I'll take my wand too.
So for me, I'll just go from the magical aspect. Like, I like watching horror movies and things like that. So for me, I'll just take my wand into their brains and go and change the way they see persons with albinism, and I'll make them see persons with albinism as the same as them. Like, they shouldn't be able to tell the difference, because once you can see persons with albinism like yourself, or people with other special needs or uniqueness like yourself, then there's no issue. So that's just
okay. That's wonderful. How do you cope with stares and the level of discrimination which we've spoken about, what coping mechanism do you use? What do you do?
Okay, well, for me, if somebody is maybe staring at me too much, I'll just stare back at you. Or if you are asking me some funny questions, I'll just ask you, why are you asking? Why do you want to know? So, like, for example, when we're coming today, somebody saw us and was asking us, are we twins? And I did not respond. I just kept mute and I was looking at him and I was not responding. If not that she responded, I would not have responded. So for me, it's something I'm really good at. You can be asking me, let me not use the word, but if you're asking me an unnecessary question, yes, I can be quiet and not answer, and I'm looking at you. That's just my own way of coping with things like that.
Okay, how do I cope with those things? The stares, first of all, being nearsighted, I don't even see as much. So it helps me get away. So even if you're staring, I might not really be able to know that there are more people staring at me than there is actually. So it's friends around me that will start saying, look at that man just parked his car since and he's been looking. Or look at that woman, she's been looking. Oh really? Is somebody looking at? Okay. So because I won't really know. I can't see that far to know. But there are times when the person is still this close and is staring.
Yes.
So what I do in those cases is I keep a straight face. I don't even acknowledge your presence. Today, one of the reasons I had answered that man was he was in a bus with us and he was older. I looked at him again and looked like somebody maybe in his late 60s or 70s, and I felt this is an elderly person, so it would not be polite that we just sort of ignore him completely, and that was why I answered him. Normally, I would just keep a straight face, and I won't want to say anything.
For me, if you are elderly, respect yourself enough to not ask unnecessary questions.
You know how I sometimes put myself in their generation. And I realized that at that time, they really did not know so much. And one thing about the average African elderly person, most times, they don't want to take in new information. They feel this is how it has been done. As younger people must listen to older people and all. So, which is why I had answered him. Most times, I would just keep a straight face and not even answer you at all. Or when you ask me a question that I consider silly, some people will start asking, why do you have this red spot here? And I point out like 30 more on your own face too as a dark person and say, okay, you being dark or being slightly, if you look at how 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So why haven't you asked yourself why you have this? Why are you asking me? So sometimes they become so really, I have them, and go and look in the mirror and they leave me alone. So but these are things that I have started doing as an adult. As a child then, it's a lot more difficult. You can't really respond to certain people, especially when they are older. So what you do is you might just go quiet and take it all in. And that was what I used to do as a child then. But I wouldn't advise any child to do that now. I believe parents are more aware and should stand up for their children. Also, I had siblings who stood up for me at certain points in time and picked quarrels with people on my behalf.
Yes, for good reason too.
For good reasons. I would just tell them, don't worry, ignore this. But there are times when I also would, make the quarrel happen myself, because you have gone, there are certain limits I really don't want you to go beyond. So when you go beyond that, I feel, I know I've respected you enough. So
in a nutshell, one can also say somehow that a culture, the level of empathy for people who look different, are different, is very low.
Yes.
But in terms of, funny again, the same culture perpetuates everybody being the same. What I mean by that is, let me give an example. Let's say there's something, a trend, clothing trend, or let's even talk about phones.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you don't have an iPhone, everybody wants everybody else to have and be among that kind of a thing. But when it comes to things that are very sensitive in our culture, there seems to be where empathy seems to just take a back seat.
Yes.
And people don't remember that they are talking to another human being who has feelings. And it is something that if we have imbibed Western culture to the extent that we have, it is something that we should, empathy is what we should imbibe. Most importantly, emotional intelligence. Knowing what to say, to whom to say it, and when to say it.
Yeah.
Very key. If you have nothing to say, if you're not the kind that can couch beautiful words or be polite, then just be mute.
Exactly.
Be quiet. Okay. What else do we have to say? We've spoken about how we cope with stares and all that. Now, both of you caught a picture of confidence and self-acceptance. For PWAs who are right now, this second, experiencing difficulties with self-esteem, low self-esteem, no confidence or very little confidence, or not accepting themselves or not loving how they look, how can they get out of that rut? What's your advice?
It all boils down to, I would say, personality and temperament. So some people take certain things more to heart than others. So when we look at who is a sanguine, who is melancholic, those things come to play. But one of the major things I would say out there, I would put out there is as a PWA, and you have this, everybody does, so it's all in the head. In most cases, it's more in the head than it's really out there. So we all just say, are you sure this dress is nice? Do I look like a potato in it? It's all in the head. You go out and people start saying, oh, you look nice and all. So I feel what people can do, especially PWAs now who are, for children, we might want to be as protective as possible. I will give this out to their parents, create safe environments for them as much as possible, put them in schools where there are less students, so the classrooms, the teacher in the classroom can really cater for the needs of each child on a personal level, allow them build that conversational skills in the class, where in a participative situation. Well, for older people now who are teenagers or young adults, discover yourself. Look into yourself, know your likes, your dislikes, your person, and then try to do things that would, elevate you, that don't get you to be depressed. Fill your mind with thoughts that are, be as resilient as possible. And that was what I did, and that was how I was able to cope with it. I was resilient. I tried as much as possible to look at the fair or the brighter side of things. And I would just put this out there, if somebody does not really matter to you, their words shouldn't. So you're just walking down the road and somebody you don't know from anywhere, somebody that's not connected to you, says a word that is hurtful or that you consider hurtful. I don't think it should be hurtful, because this person doesn't even know you. They are talking based on their own level of reasoning. It's not about you, it's about them. So don't allow it to define who you are. Do not allow what people who don't matter say define who you are. That's just what I will put out there to them.
Words and gold. Eniola?
Okay. Well, I have been anticipating this question in particular because, we get asked a lot. So I want to start with, there's a quote I saw very recently, I think during the week, and I've always had it in mind, but the quote just made it very, so it says, ignore the glass ceiling and do your work. If you're focusing on the glass ceiling, focusing on what you don't have, focusing on limitations, then you will be limited. So that's just a quote. It's by one lady, I don't remember her name right now, but that quote just is something I always tell people, persons with albinism and any other person. Ignore those limitations. Ignore the fact that there's a glass ceiling that you have to shatter, and just do your work. Now I'm talking about adults. She has spoken about children and what parents can do. So I noticed that many PWAs that I've seen, they tend to have this victim mentality. They tend to have this mentality of, oh, I'm helpless, I have limitations, and that's their excuse for being the way they are. So what I'll tell them is, forget about the fact that there are limits. The limits are there. You cannot change it. There's nothing you can do about it. So do you want to live all your life based on the fact that you have limitations? No, you can't do that. So ignore your limitations and do what you have to do. I've seen persons with albinism that are doctors, whereas there was a time I heard someone say that a person with albinism cannot be a doctor because you can't read thermometers, you can't do. But I've seen persons with albinism become medical doctors. I've seen persons with albinism become actors, and not actors like acting ghosts in movies, like real
spirits.
Spirit, acting real movies with normal characters. I've seen persons with albinism do so many things, go into politics and all. So why should you say because you're a person with albinism, people should keep having to encourage you and having to tell you? Of course, I understand that, but maybe I'm being a bit harsh. I don't know, but I just have to say, you have to just stop looking at the fact that there's a limitation. If not, you just grow old and realize that some people left you behind and they are doing things. So there was a time that I had a conversation with a lady. There was this WhatsApp group somebody created and they added me. It was for ladies, persons with albinism, ladies.
Okay.
And they were saying something like, we ladies, we need help, we need empowerment, we need... And I chatted the person that added me that, sorry, I don't understand, what's the goal of this group? And she said that it's just to help. And I said, well, I personally, I don't think I want this kind of association. And then she became kind of insultive and saying that I'm from a privileged background.
That's
and
what
I just
you
laughed.
end up saying.
Because how do you know whether I'm from a privileged background or not? He said, it's because I'm privileged. That's why I'm saying this. There are so many persons that have been even suffering and all those things. But I just told her, I said, well, for me, you can decide to wallow in the fact that you are limited or you grew up somehow. But so many people have come out of these same situations and they've done something good for themselves. So why don't you ignore those things and just do what you have to do? I mean, talking about sight, there are people with dark skins that they also have this visual acuity issue, and it doesn't stop them.
Yes.
So why should it stop you? Hypersensitive skin, there are some other people that have hypersensitive skins. True. And they go out to do what they have to do. Avoid the sun. There are so many jobs you can do that you don't have to be in the sun. Why not do those ones?
Thank God for
why
the
must
media
you why must you do a job that makes you be in the sun and then you come and complain? There are there's online jobs, you stay in your house and make money. There are so many things. So I mean, I'm just saying it again, ignore the glass ceiling and do your work.
Yes, I would further add to that. I think one of the reasons they have that mindset is the definition around the word disabled. You know, when we use that word, I personally detest that word or the usage of it. When we use the word...
Elizabeth, it's funny you should say that, because even the UN sees albinism as a form of
disability.
Yeah.
That is... You're seeing somebody's condition as a form of disability, not the person. So we have cases where they say a disabled person. So these people put that mindset in their heads and register that I am helpless, I am disabled. So I feel it's a case of some people are more abled in certain areas than certain areas. So look out for the area where you feel you are more abled and channel yourself. You cannot be disabled all through. We've had people who are blind and they say this person is disabled. I don't agree, because this person is more abled. So there are some people that can sing even being blind. You have beautiful voice, you do art, you do so many things. So you're not disabled at the end of the day. You're just not able to see. That doesn't mean other parts of your life cannot function. Yes. So persons with albinism, like she has said, some of them have that mentality of I am disabled, so I need support. All those mindset of going to seek for, stipends here and there. You want stipends, you want support, you want somebody to pity you. No, that's not what we need. Look into yourself. What are the areas I can function and be productive in those areas? You would definitely fly.
Okay. Now I'm going to be one of those people who is not as blessed as the two of you. You know, you people look like rich kids. So let's just say. Now the reality is that the family background as well has helped to pamper that I am not able. How do I? You know, you people have been speaking English all along. Somebody with this mindset who wants to know in practical terms, what can I do? What are the things I can do? What jobs can I do? I cannot, my vision is limited. My skills are limited. How can I get out of this cycle of just being indoors? Maybe the child is always indoors. The mother says, "Oh, don't go anywhere. I don't want you to get into the sun. Or I don't want to put, this person is pampered and sheltered." How can they get out of it? That is what they would like to know. In practical terms, what do you think?
Well, I would say, first of all, everybody has something they are passionate about. So you should find what it is that you like, something you like that can also bring you money at the same time, and then focus on it. There's no way you would be a person and you don't have something that can bring you. So of course, I understand the fact that some people are not, maybe they are not privileged to have the kind of information that some people have. Yes. But you just have to snap out of it by yourself. Nobody can do it for you. Nobody can help you make up your mind that you want to do something. It still boils down to you. You have to change. It's a mindset thing that has to be changed. It's not really about resources, first off. Because, for example, you have to go to school for you to get a certificate and get a job or something. But I've seen PWAs that did not finish school, and their excuse is that there is no money. Yes. And the reason there is no money is because they are PWAs and there is nobody to give them money. This same thing happens to persons that have pigments normally. So why should it be an excuse for you because you are a person with albinism? If lack of funds is stopping someone from going to school, there are jobs that you can take that you might be able to afford to send yourself to school. Or if you cannot even go at that time, you can go later in life. People go to school later on. It doesn't even have exactly. So I feel most of these people is kind of, I'm sorry to say, but I think it's kind of like this complacence or laziness kind of that I can't do anything. Nobody can help you make this decision. You are still the one that would make that decision yourself, that you want to do something.
Yeah, I agree with her, and I would add that when we consider we need that paradigm shift mindset. Also, when we bring it down to home, now let's be practical. Some people, because they are persons with albinism, they had to drop out of school. I've seen someone who told me he had to drop out of school because he couldn't see the board at certain points in time, and his teachers were not supportive. And at some point, even his parents stopped paying his fees because he was failing the class, was repeating the class, and they stopped paying. They paid for his other siblings. So I asked him, I said, so now, then what did you end up doing with yourself? He said, when he realized that, he went into learning how to fix phones.
Okay.
So he noticed that he liked coupling things. So he told his parents, I think this is the area where I can function. And he went into that. And today he fixes phones for people. He calls himself phone doctor. He has a stand where he does that.
There is something so you have.
You look into you.
Yes.
You can decide to do anything. It doesn't have to be white collar or formal education. You don't. Not everybody goes. So even some people who went to school these days have dropped their certificate somewhere
and found something,
and they are looking at their passion. You can be a creative. You can decide that, okay, I want to write. We know that some of these things don't bring instant money, but consistency.
And also there are things you can
improvement.
There are things you can do too.
Okay, helping yourself grow, and there are things you can. Then you take some online courses to empower yourself. I always tell people, the fact that you couldn't go to school doesn't mean you cannot learn to speak properly, learn basic ethics. These days they are free on social media. The time you spend checking out who posted Dr. Makiwa's recent picture, whatever you're checking online. That same time, how many goals did Cristiano Ronaldo score at the last match? Those time. When you channel it into something productive for you will be so amazed at what you would come up with.
So the question to them is, how badly do you want to succeed?
Exactly.
That is it. So it's a survival thing.
That is it. Exactly. It boils down to
how passionate are you about
decide. You really need to decide what you want for yourself. Because even if you have your parents taking care of your needs for now, one day your parents are going to go and you'll be left on your own. And the only person you can count on is yourself. Yes. Another thing which Elizabeth raised, which I find very interesting, is the issue of priority. Now, you maybe ask friends or relatives or family or whatever for money to buy data to put on your phone, and you use that data for enjoyment purposes, rather than either taking a course and then bettering your skills. What we are going to do is, in the description link, we're going to put different courses you can take and help with some resource so you can start from there.
Yeah.
And then also for the Skin Deep program that I spoke about, it was one of the things we were championing. We wanted creative people to come to us and, form a community of people, writers, actors, dancers, models, and I noticed a lot of PWAs, models and vixens. I know quite a few of them. There is a lot you can do without necessarily having a degree. So it's for you to look into that if you really want to succeed. Okay, so this will be the second to the last question. What influence do you think the family played in who you are today for the both of you?
You want to go first?
No, go first.
Okay. My family played a very big impact in who I am today. First, I'm from a large family, so I have about 6 siblings or more, and we grew up together. So it's a case of, in fact, whatever, as children, whatever taunt or mockery I want to hear from outside, I've heard it from the house. This sibling has told me this word, and I have told this sibling back. So I have grown tough skin from childhood. So it helped me to manage these things when I go out. And aside that, the support. When we used to play outside, my mom would most likely lock me in and just tell me, Lizzie, you can't go out to play like your siblings. You can't be in the sun. There were a few times when my siblings would sneak me out.
Yes.
Then when I come back, maybe she has gone to the market or to do her business. She's back and she's asking me, did you go out to play in the sun? And as a trusted child, I would lie.
Yes.
Mommy, no, I've been indoor. But of course, your skin is showing that you were in the sun.
Your skin is telling the truth.
My skin is already telling the truth. So she'll say, but your skin is saying the complete opposite of what you did. And she gets to treat me. And what she then started doing was buying me books. She noticed, okay, I liked stories. So she would buy me lots of storybooks. And I would say that helped my vocabulary. Most times I go out and people say, you speak well. Yes. And I just say thank you. At 6, I could read fluently. I could read newspapers, magazines fluently. At 6, 7, I was that fluent. So that was because I had built it. So from when I was 4, 5, 6, my mom used to just give me storybooks to read, and it helped grow so I would say that alone was a very big support for me. And then the care, the fact that I had someone who understood me enough to keep me safe from the sun. Some PWAs don't have that. I've met some now who have grown and they have so many skin patches and discomfort, and they start telling me it makes them uncomfortable when they go out, because some people would then make remarks like, you are not even fresh, safe. I've seen your kind that are fresh. You are the dirty version of, their case now is like double discrimination. Yes. You're not just being discriminated because you're a person with albinism. How you appear again as a person with albinism is still in question. So I've heard them share those sad tales to me, and I feel sorry. I can relate with what they are saying, because if I did not have my mother, who was solidly, on my case to protect me, I did not know the consequences then. I would have also had those discomforts. So I would say family needs to be as aware as they can be. When you have someone in your family who comes with a certain uniqueness, I think it is your duty, the adult in the house, to research as much as you can about this person, so you know ways to support that person, and the person lives a healthier and more comfortable life. So family was there for me a great deal.
Eggs and eggshells. I'm sure you don't want them to go either. So just before we went on the break, I had asked Elizabeth about the role her family played in making her who she is today, and then we were just about to get to Eniola's response So Eniola, tell us how it was. What role did they play?
Well, I would say that they played the major role because, like Elizabeth said, family is like the integral part of everything. So for me, when I was young, I remember my mom and my dad. They instill this confidence. They used to take me everywhere. Like when they go to parties or whatever, and I go with them. And I remember my mom always saying almost every day, randomly, she would just quote one. Okay, I'm being spiritual now.
Yeah.
So my mom would just go, there's this scripture, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. So my mom, she used to say it to me every time. Growing up, I remember her saying almost every day. She would just say it to me randomly, out of nowhere. So I think that was something that really made me confident. And then I remember one scenario that happened. They took me to a party. It was a children's party, and a child came up to me and said, "Why is your color like this?" And I asked the child, "So you too, why is your color like this?" And the child was like, "I don't know, it's how I was born." I said, "Me too, I don't know, it's how
I was born."
And my mom, I don't remember that, but my mom remembers still today. And she always still says it once in a while that I remember when you were small. So she told me how that conversation happened. So my mom said she had already noticed that right from when I was young, I was already getting confident. So, and then as for protection from the sun and all, as young as I could remember, I always wore hats to school every day. I wore a hat. I used umbrellas. In fact, when there was this umbrella cap, there's one cap that I used that too. I hated that cap. I hated it so much, but my dad used to make me wear it almost every time to school. So for protection, they always told me, and I think my parents must have done their research. I don't know how, but they knew all these things. Stay away from the sun. I was eating salt, so there was nothing like that. My parents are educated, so of course maybe that's how they got to know those things. And my elder siblings too, everybody is they just did their part in making sure that I was confident. My confidence was always there. I have a younger brother that is also a PWA, and his confidence is top notch. So my parents, I will give them, and my elder siblings as well. So if parents can be informed, if you don't know something, ask professionals, doctors, and everything. So yeah, my parents have, and there one more thing. When I was in school, any teacher that bullies me or that flogs me in a certain way, I remember my dad always coming to school to come and fight. There was a time a particular teacher flogged me on my thigh. I don't remember what happened. And the mark was there, it was so evident. My dad was so angry. He came to school and he warned the man, "It's better you punish her or something, but don't." So I think all those things just brought the whole confidence thing. I remember so many scenarios. Maybe there was one time too that there was one of my classmates that I overheard her telling another girl that she doesn't like me. So one day, randomly, my mom was just asking, because she's always checking that how was school, she's always checking in. And I told her, "Mommy, there's one girl that says she doesn't like me." Do you know, my mom and my dad, despite the fact that they work, then they used to work on the island, I think, and their workplace was far. They decided to go to work late the next day. They came to my school and they came to tell all the teachers that, "Who is this girl?" They mentioned her name. She said she doesn't like my child, that is dangerous. How someone? So they came, they called the girl. The girl was weeping like this. So the whole thing, it was, even me, I was now somehow embarrassed. It's not serious. So I mean, they've always stood up for me. So yes, parents that have PWA children, you have to fight for your children.
Yes.
That's what brings out that confidence.
Yes, I agree. You have to really fight for them, because at that age they really do not know so much on what to do. So their parents' participation goes a long way.
Yes.
It just makes you realize that you have somebody to support you, that
yes,
is there. That feeling of knowing there's somebody there for you,
yes,
it goes a long way. This doesn't mean that children who are PWAs are weaklings, because we have seen many of us too that can cause trouble in classroom. I was a handful myself. So but this goes to show that parents, you just know, you are reassured that there is somebody out there who loves you. For me, if somebody said then that he doesn't like me, I don't care. I also don't like you. I'll tell you too, I don't like you as well. So be in your lane and let me be in my lane. I had few friends and I was fine, but knowing that it's so sweet to see your parents come around to defend you at certain
Like
points
even when you feel like there's no need,
even when you feel like this is embarrassing,
Yes.
I know, but they are there, and they're just that presence alone. When you think back, at that time you might not really know what they are doing, but when you grow older,
you understand.
you think back and feel, oh, now I realize, I know why mommy had to do this, why daddy had to do this. For me, it was mostly my mom coming to my school to cause trouble when she hears that somebody has done this to me, or that our case was mainly with the adults. She knew with my peers, I had my mouth too. She would tell me, don't you have, what happened to your own mouth? So when this person was now telling you this, what did you say? I was like, mommy, I told her back. I said, and I said. She would say, hey. She would not make that statement in like the regular Benin woman speech. Now me born you. I said, yes, ma'am. So that was how she made me my own confidence. So it wasn't a case of she was always particular about how did you respond to it? Were you quiet? Did you allow them, your peers, toss you about?
My mom always even tell you that you must always have a response for everything. Even till now, she will still tell me that anytime anybody says something, don't keep quiet and come and be telling me someone said. What you must. My mom always say there's this Yoruba thing where they'll say or something, like you go home and go and get the reply, then you come. My mom will tell you that immediately.
Give it to them.
Respond. Yes.
I talk a lot, so that is just it.
Okay, so family support was there. What about when we were talking about empowerment and self-acceptance? What about support from, I don't know what the scene is like for PWAs in terms of associations or clubs? What about that, joining one of these associations?
I think one of the things it does for you is it makes you just know that it's not only me. So I had not seen any PWAs growing up. I did not. So the first time I ever saw PWAs in that number was just recently. I think before the pandemic. That was like in 2018 or 19.
Okay.
I had not seen. So somebody invited me to a community. I think a friend of mine was listening on the radio and heard of a PWA community, and he wrote down the number and told me, said, I've been telling you since, get to know some people who are also PWAs and hear their stories, what they've gone through, and learn from them. So I said, okay, let me attend. And I got there, I saw so many people, all PWAs. Like I'd called the person who came to pick me when I was waiting for him at the bus stop, and he was also a PWA. I was like, oh, pleased to meet you. I'm happy that I'm now meeting people like this too. So on our way, when we got there, I saw so many people, children, young adults, the older generation, all PWA. So I liked that sense of, belonging. I felt these are my people. Yes. In as much as we have diverse personality, we don't even, so most of us are strangers to each other, but just that similarity alone has sort of connected me to them, and I was grateful for that experience. So I think joining those communities, you might not necessarily need that your values, it doesn't mean that your value needs to align with them, but just knowing that these are people who are like me. You hear their own stories, you learn from it, you have conversations with them. It helps also to improve your level of confidence and self-acceptance as well. So I would recommend that people try as much as possible to join. These days there are some they call Albinism hangouts, where you just do like a party. PWA is organized by PWAs for PWAs, like a pool party. Everybody come and have a good time. You see a movie together and you go home. So I like things like that. It just grows you in a certain way. So would you like to?
I kind of have a difference. I don't know if that's fine.
Please.
It's fine now.
Well, for me, I don't necessarily think, I don't know, but I frown at associations sometimes.
Okay.
Well, I remember growing up, there was a time my parents took me to one association thing like that, and I just was not interested. I was just not interested in the whole PWAs everywhere, like there are so many. Well, maybe because I used to have an uncle that was a PWA. He's late now. Okay. So he grew up in our house at some point. He was, not that he grew up, I mean he lived with us at some point. So I saw him, and then I have a younger brother. So maybe that might be a reason. I can't say, but I just do not really. I frown at it because I feel I don't have to be your friend just because you are a person with albinism. I don't have to. It's not people that have melanin. Not everybody will be friends just because. So I don't have to be your friend. So, and that's what's going to happen when I join all these associations. I'll be what's the word? I'll be obligated to be friends with somebody just because
you have
of
almost the same
yes.
complexion.
And I feel like we should move past that. There is life beyond.
I don't think they
person
would
with
want to
albinism.
force you to be friends.
No, not friend, not force, but of course you see them, you relate to them. It's good. I understand you have a perspective of having people that you can relate with, which is fine. But I can always I got that you're my friend now. And I have other friends that are PWAs, not necessarily because of the association. Yes, I agree that it's good for that purpose, but I just think that I think it's me personally. I don't think I have to be your friend just because.
I understand where you're coming from, but be slightly more open because it is actually because of the albinism. You're looking for something that joins the both of you together. And I understand where you're coming from. Sometimes it's not properly the base on which that we are together is put on is faulty.
Yes.
So there are lots of funny things that come with it, and that is what is actually putting you off.
Yes.
But if you get together with the right people, you would love it because you share experiences and then there is value being exchanged.
Of course.
So I think maybe in some of those associations there is really not value. The concentration is just we are PWAs, we're being mistreated. It could be that is putting you off.
I think
but
that
not
is
necessarily
definitely.
that you are against.
No, I'm not against being friends with persons with albinism. No, I'm not against that. But the mentality and the mindset behind it.
I agree. And also the sense of entitlement that sometimes comes with. So I had cases where, because I'm on a WhatsApp group for a certain association of PWAs, had maybe a man from there just comes into my DM and says something like, "Hello, baby.
Let's get together."
Sorry. How did you play from the association? I'm sorry, I'm not interested. How will you not be interested? I am a PWA. You're a PWA.
That's what I'm talking about.
Reason for no
I don't. That part you have to draw the line.
By and large, I feel as a person, I am an enthusiast. I like to meet people. I like to talk. I like to just be around people and hear stories. So that's one of the reasons I would advise maybe joining an association, not necessarily becoming friends, but at least just hear what other people have to say and liken it to your own case, and you're like, oh wow, so people go through this. I did not know that some PWAs were facing cases of you see, in terms of relationship, they'll hear cases like some men just dated me and they said things like they just wanted to try out
to see how she felt,
how
she was different.
Yes, so some PWAs now I have spoken to, we are not friends, but one reason or the other we have met at certain gatherings and had conversations. They've told me this. I'm like, really? So people do that too. So that makes me more aware. So now you get to read people's motives better now. Okay, why is this person coming to me? Is it similar to Ngozi's story or Jennifer's story? Like that.
I think the bottom line is before joining any association, you should find out the goals of the association.
Yes.
What are they trying to achieve? If it's something that aligns with you, then by all means, you should join them.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so that marks the end of part 2 of this podcast. I hope you were illuminated, educated, informed, and sometimes entertained by our banter. And I am looking forward to you watching this podcast, watching this channel again. I'm going to bring back Eniola and Elizabeth. Definitely, I'm sure you enjoyed their talk. I know that I did immensely. So don't forget, if you haven't subscribed as at now, just do so. And don't forget to press the notification bell so that once we have a new video, you are notified. All right. So till next time, it's bye for now. One of the things that the egg symbolizes is life, potential, something to symbolize the wholesomeness of life. My name is Amina Garba Ashiwaju. Well, the eggshells too plays a role in our everyday life. It's not everything we do is wholesome. Things that are very sensitive and fragile, like the eggshell. When the egg experiences damage, it cracks, and then it may crack and crack into fragments, thus giving you the eggshells. Eggs and eggshells.